Hey, are we pulling? What's up? It's Jimfro from Ready Check Pull, and this is our official boss guide for normal and heroic Lady Enerva Darkvein. This guide is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. They get early access to these guides before anyone else, so if you want early access too, check out the Patreon link below. Lady Enerva Darkvein is right after the Hungering Destroyer fight, and she's the last boss of that wing in the raid. She only has 4 abilities. Well, kinda. She has 4 base abilities, but the trick to this fight is that those abilities get enhanced at certain times. The way that happens is through these 4 containers in the front of the room, each one corresponding to one of the 4 abilities, and the containers passively fill up over time, starting at level 1 and slowly getting to level 3. You can click the containers to drain them and prevent them from leveling up. However, Darkvein will focus one at a time, making it fill up faster and preventing it from being drained. So you'll still have to deal with level 2 and 3 of each ability at some point in the fight. Now let's get into the base abilities. The first one is for tanks. It's a big physical hit on her current target that also applies a stacking dot debuff. This one's real simple. The tanks just need to swap at around 2 stacks. The second ability is the animal bottles that the boss occasionally throws around the room. You need to catch the bottles before they hit the ground by having someone stand in each of these red circles. If you don't catch a bottle, it'll explode on the raid for a ton of damage, so just have your range stay spread out all around the boss to have better coverage of the room. The third ability is a bit of a weird one. Every once in a while, these 3 orbs will spawn around the middle of the room. They consistently do damage to the closest player, and they explode on the raid after about a minute, but they can be despawned. The only way to do this is with these beams that link 3 random players together after the orb spawn. These players need to position themselves so that their beams are hitting all 3 orbs at the same time by having each of the players stand behind a different orb. This instantly despawns the orbs and the beams, and you're good to go. And the fourth ability is the most important one. Occasionally, 3 random players will get a red circle around them and a yellow mark above their head. These players need to move closer to the boss without being in each other's circle because the circle explodes after a few seconds and spawns an ad where each player is standing. There's 1 big ad and 2 smaller ads, and none of them are able to move. The big ad needs to be tanked or else it'll cast a raid-wide explosion, and it also applies a stacking debuff to its target, which actually isn't a big deal. The small ads both need to be chain interrupted, so you'll need to split your DPS in half to focus on each one, interrupting as many casts as possible. Marking each one and assigning people to their marks is probably the best way to go. Kill the small ads first and then finish off the big one. So that's all the base abilities. Dealing with those make up 90% of the fight. The other 10% are the enhanced versions of the abilities, but you'll only have to deal with one at a time, and they get enhanced in the same order every time. The first container that gets focused is for the tank ability. At level 2, the instant damage of the ability will also be copied onto a few random players as a short dot, so these players will need to be focus healed. And at level 3, the debuff on the tanks also explodes on the raid when it expires, doing less damage to players that are further away, so the tanks are going to have to run away when this happens. When the boss switches her focus to the next container, make sure to have someone click the previous focus container to drain it back down to empty. Draining a container does do ticking damage to the raid, but it's nothing crazy, and you can pause the drain if you need to catch up on healing. The second container that gets focused is for the bottles that the boss throws. At level 2, when the bottles are caught by a player, they'll leave a small red pool on the ground, which just does ticking damage to anyone standing in it. And at level 3, the bottles will bounce 1 extra time, so they'll have to be caught twice. The boss will then switch focus to the third container that empowers the red orbs, and you'll have to have someone click the previous container to drain it. At level 2, the red orbs will have red beams between them, creating a red triangle. Moving through a beam applies a short dot that does a ton of damage, so avoid moving through them whenever possible. And at level 3, the beams rotate around the orbs, which looks crazy and makes them much harder to avoid. Despawning the orbs quickly is going to be a big deal when this is going on. And finally, the boss will then switch to the fourth container, which empowers the ad spawning ability. You'll then have someone click the previous red orb container to drain it. At level 2, the players with the circles will be rooted, so they won't be able to move the ads closer to the boss unless they have a way of clearing routes or teleporting. And at level 3, each circle's explosion will also send out shadowy projectiles that everyone needs to dodge. After the ad container, she'll start the whole cycle over from the beginning, but one cycle takes almost 7 minutes, so you'll probably have killed her by then. Alright, so quick recap. Before pulling, assign half of your DPS to each marked small ad for interrupts. Tanks, keep the boss in the middle of the room and taunt swap at 2 stacks. Ranged, spread out around the room and soak the red circles. Players linked with the beams will need to despawn the red orbs by linking all 3 orbs with the beams. When the ads spawn, the assigned DPS will chain interrupt the small ones, and the big one needs to be tanked. Drain each filled container when the boss switches focus to the next container. And that's pretty much it. If you like this guide, support us on Patreon. We have a goal of reaching 100 patrons by the end of the tier so that we can make these guides again for next tier and keep making all kinds of other guides too. Thank you so much to all the patrons who already support us. We honestly can't thank you enough. Also, you can find our written version of these guides on Icy Veins linked below. Like, subscribe, and join our Discord to keep up with everything Ready Check Pull. Peace.